Welcome, Wapham crew, guys, gals, ghouls, and otherworldly beings. Let's climb aboard the mothership, secure our tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the Labladas on Rocky Mountain High. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. I am your ghostess, TessaTNT, and I am broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm glad you're here. That means you're safe from all the craziness that's going on outside in the world today. It's all over the place, and it just seems to get worse and worse and worse, but we're going to get through this together. If you want to listen in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, please feel free to check me out on Spreaker.com under We Are Paradox Media, or anywhere else that you listen to your broadcasts and podcasts. And if you don't mind, mosey on over to our YouTube, We Are Paradox Media, and subscribe, like any videos that you may have watched or listened to, and enjoy whatever you watch on there. All right, so tonight it's Trippy TikToks with me, TessaTNT, and we're going to jump right on into that. And I did double check my speaker to make sure we're not going to have an echo, so I'm hoping this goes smoothly.
Of the Oversight Committee Task Force on the declassification of federal secrets. She has said that there is evidence of interdimensional beings that can operate through the time spaces that we currently have, which is obviously going to catch a lot of people's attention. Anna Paulina Luna, thank you very much, Congressman. It's good to have you with us today. I want to go back to that. You told Joe Rogan in a podcast in August when you were discussing all of this, that you have viewed evidence of interdimensional beings here on Earth and that they operate through the time spaces that we currently have. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think that a good example would be some of the photo visual evidence that we've seen directly in some of these classified briefings that will now be made public. One of the famously now, infamous videos that we showed in one of our hearings was actually a video that was dead dropped to Eric Burleson, who's a member of Congress, from within the Department of War, and it shows a UAP, an unidentified air phenomena, deflecting a Hellfire missile. This was taken off of ISR footage off the coast of, I believe it was Yemen. So long story short, there have been briefings that we've received as Congress that leads us to believe that, yes, there is definitely an advanced technology out there that's not created by mankind.
Have you ever seen that show called My Strange Addiction? It features people who have all kinds of wild addictions. I thought it would be fun to go ahead and review some of them. For example, people eating things. Things like couch cushions, a guy who ate drywall daily for years, a guy who was addicted to eating glass and swallowing bullets. I'm really not sure how you can eat glass, but I guess he figured out a way. Then there was the woman who ate her husband's cremains, and another one who ate cigarette ashes. There was a woman who was obsessed with getting stung by bees, someone who is obsessed with sniffing their father's underwear. And of course, we have people that have relationships with things like cars and balloons. But for some reason, I was really bothered by this woman who would blend her meals and snort them. And she would even do that with her coffee. I've been a hypnotherapist for over 10 years. And while I have encountered people with really unusual addiction, I have not seen anything quite like these. But if you have a strange addiction or any kind of addiction at all, I can help. So let me know in the comments, what is the strangest addiction that you've ever heard of?
You still think they're cloning people, don't you? And you think they're cloning pets too? And you think that's a clone of Diddy? And not just a different person?
Jim Carrey seems to have one.
They decided to call Diddy to mind manipulate you? Well, what if I told you cloning wasn't even real? Not at all. Not with pets. Definitely not with humans. But they've been propagandizing it and shoving it down your throats for decades, so you would think it was, to hide something else. Some of you are pretty smart, and you can recognize when they're shoving something down your throat. You can recognize when they're shoving stuff down your throat. But for some reason, a lot of you can't realize when they're shoving stuff down your throat when it comes to clones. Do you know what the first thing they supposedly cloned was? Do you remember? Do you know? Oh, that's right. It was a sheep. As in the sheeple believe anything we put on the TV or in their phones. And what was that first sheep's name? Oh yes, Dolly. And do you know that dolus, or doll, as in the beginning of Dolly, is a Latin legal term that refers to a deliberate act of deception, fraud, or evil intent? What an amazing coincidence. You see, they want you to believe in clones, so you don't know what's really going on. And they shove it down your throat. They tell us the truth all the time, but it's subtle. It's in between the lines. When they want you to believe something, they shove it down your throat. Like telling you how good these are for you and that everyone should get one. And like showing you a picture of this at the beginning of every single movie. Oh, those are all supposedly real photos from NASA. Funny how they look oh so different. But Tyler, Clonaid, it's a real company. Google says so. Clonaid, they do human clonings. They've made 13. Well, yeah, Google also says that people have landed on the moon. You see, they want you believing in clones and now soul transferring. That's the new thing, to hide the fact that they're fallen angels and they can shapeshift and they live a lot longer than you and I. And if you think they're clones, well, then you don't say, F you, Elon. I know you used to be Werner von Braun. So you don't say, F you, Alec Baldwin. I know you used to be President Fillmore. So you don't say, F you, Michael Phelps. I knew you used to be H.P. Lovecraft. Or F you, Travis Kelce. I know you used to be Alexander so-and-so who created the Pony Express in the 1800s. They're not clones. They can just live a lot longer. And they've been here a lot longer than you could even wrap your head around. And yes, they use the news and movies and even a whole bunch of Masonic podcasts to convince you that you're silly if you don't believe in clones.
Yeah, no, they're cloning people, and it shouldn't be that hard to believe. And there's been a lot of people who have come forward about it, and it's just like yeah, if you don't believe in it, it's silly.
Why are people so convinced that there's a difference between the science behind cloning a sheep and a person?
They don't clone a sheep either.
It's biology, right?
I think people are just self-important. It's the same mentality that, like, oh, no, we're humans. We're so special. It's the same mentality that made us think that the Earth was the center of the universe for thousands.
Right, okay, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, perfectly.
Oh, imagine that. In the same breath that they're pushing clones, they're pushing that you're a spinning chimp living in outer space, evolved from a freaking tadpole that turned into a fish, that turned into a fish monkey, that turned into you. You're unimportant. You're not special at all. That's what they want you to believe. Well, I have news for you, my friends. You're very special, all of you. And you have purpose here. And your mission is to find that purpose and find your gift and use it to help humanity. But of course, all this for entertainment purposes. I live right there, and I'm spinning 1,000 miles per hour and 66,000 miles per hour around the sun as we speak. Yeah, there it is. Entertainment only. Clones are a psyop, people. It's time you awaken souls. Figure that out. I'm here trying to help. A lot of people are lying to you. Entertainment only.
Entertainment purposes only.
No, it's not entertainment. There's no symbolism going on there. Have a lovely day. Much love. I just care. Genuinely, I care. I love people, and I'm trying to help. That's why I was a teacher for 20 years. And no, there aren't Masonic fallen angels hiding as teachers of PE students for 20 years. You can research that. Grays Lake North High School. Have a lovely day.
Let me introduce you to one of the most insane moments in TV history when a magician named James went on the Johnny Carson show and exposed Peter Popoff. Oh, You don't know who Peter Popoff is? Well, you see, Peter was a psychic pastor and he was famous. You see, he had this show where he would sit the whole audience down and he would basically start reading people's minds. According to Peter, God was sending him messages so he could heal people. And the strange part is his information was always so accurate. Information that there's no way he could have known. And that's exactly what James said. He said, there's got to be some sort of trick to this. They said, man, James, you just hating. Maybe Peter actually just psychic. James said, humans got an update now? There's just psychic humans walking around? He's scamming. This ain't that so, Peter? James was on Peter's ass, but it wasn't enough. He needed proof. Peter was just too powerful. This man at one point was making $500,000 a month.
Wow.
He had TV specials where he would be demonstrating his psychic abilities, massive church gatherings. James pulls up to one of these gatherings. He chilling in the back. Peter putting on a show, grabbed somebody by the head. Woo! He said, your name Rashad. Rashad said, yeah, that's me. Peter said, Rashad, you from? He starts saying his address. Rashad said, that's my address. He starts saying all kinds of things about Rashad's life. Rashad confirming these things. James, in the back, posted. He calls one of his assistants. He says, get up close to Peter Popoff with the donation box and see what you could see. So the assistant goes up closer while Peter is doing his thing. The assistant sees a hearing aid. That's a little suspicious. You know, Peter's a man of God. He got all these powers. Why he need a hearing aid? And that's where Peter Popoff had a problem because, you see, he wasn't wearing a hearing aid. He was wearing a radio transmitter device. James pulls up to another one of Peter Popoff's church sessions, and this time he brings a scanner able to detect radio frequencies. And through that scanner, James hears a voice. It's Peter Popoff's wife reading out, listen closely, little prayer cards. So it turns out before each church session, everyone would write out a prayer card. They would write out their name, they would write out their address, and what they wish to be healed. Peter Popoff's wife was just in the back on a radio telling Peter Popoff everything about people that he's interacting with. Yo, them folk was falling for anything back then. Anyway, here's where things start to get wicked. James said, you know what? I could expose him right now, but let me just be petty. So James goes on the Johnny Carson show and he get this snitching. He said, hey man, y'all check this out. He plays Peter Popoff's wife telling Peter Popoff exactly. Matter of fact, you gotta listen to this. Listen to this.
Okay, she lives at 4267 Masterson.
4267 Masterson.
The crowd is guffawed. Peter Popoff's response was, they're lying. They said, Peter, they got you on cam. He said, what? He lost everything. Boy filed for bankruptcy immediately. But then 10 years later, he decides to come back and focus his scamming on the black community. He starts taking ads out on BET. He starts selling his famous Miracle Spring Water, and he continues to make a lot of money because his ads are still going up to this day. He's still selling this spring water. Yes, sadly, even though Peter and his wife are known scammers, it's hard to punish them because they scam in the name of religion. So the government doesn't want to cross that boundary.
Jim Carrey. Is this the actual Jim Carrey?
So beautiful. I'm having Michelle.
Look at the eye color.
Camille Capone.
Now listen here, Linda. At first I was like, yeah, this is Jim Carrey. Homie just had a facelift. Everybody's like, his face, bro. Look at his face. It's completely different. Don't you guys remember that Jim Carrey is literally a real-life shapeshifter? I'm not talking about a reptilian or an alien. Jim Carrey is multi-talented. This man can literally appear or make himself appear to look like almost anybody. I mean, who else could play the Grinch better than Jim Carrey?
That's the Grinch. And I go, I must find a way.
Oh, you want to jump down that rabbit hole? Now look, remember, yesterday I dropped this video about the little lizard people, you know, the vampire lizard and the Black Eye Club. What do you know? Look at Jim Carrey. Boop. Now this is the Jim Carrey that we all remember.
I'm ready to go in, Coach. Just give me a chance.
This is the Jim Carrey now.
Was also amazing. It was just a brilliant evening. What the fuck?
What is the Black Eye Club? What is the vampire lizard? Meanwhile, you see all these celebrities always throwing up that pyramid, right? And then every now and then they'll cover that eye up. But why? Let me tell you about this lizard. I tell you what, the video is on the page. Go check it out, then come back to this one. My name is Armin. This is The Imperfect. If you're new to the channel, consider dropping a follow. It'll mean the world to me. Watch this.
I don't exist. So they're all characters that I played, including Jim Carrey, including Joel Barish, including any of those things. They're all characters. Jim Carrey was a less intentional character.
Listen up. I've been going over the blood moon that's going to happen on March the 3rd, this Tuesday. Last night on the 28th was a 6-planet alignment. Not only have we had 3 blood moons on Purim for the last 3 years, but we've also had 2 6-planet alignments in the last 2 years. The first was on June the 3rd, 2024. And the last one, which was February the 28th, was last night. If you add the days from these 2 alignments, it is 635 days. Y'all, 635 in this Strong's Concordance is Esther. Out of all the other signs we've gotten, how wild is that? Also, the exact duration of the fall of Israel's government on December the 26th, 2018 to March the 3rd, 2026, which is this Tuesday's blood moon, it will be 7 years, 2 months, and 6 days. 726. And we know that 726 in the Strong's Concordance is Harpazo. Now, I've been talking about this for the past few years, but the eclipse dates match the actual time period of Esther. The eclipses from the last few years match the same time period of the eclipses that happened in the book of Esther. On April the 3rd of 33 AD, there was a blood moon, which is the day that everyone thinks that Christ was crucified on. On top of that, the asteroid Yeshua was in the sun on the same exact day. Passover this year lands on the 3rd of April, just like it did in 33 AD. And guess what? The asteroid Yeshua is going to be in the sun again. Not only that, but this new asteroid that they have found called MAPS is also going to be in the sun as well. There will be no more eclipses that land on feast days until 2033. There will be a blood moon eclipse on April the 14th of 2033. And that is the exact day that the Jewish Passover lands on, April the 14th, 2033. Now, if we go from April the 3rd of 33 AD, when Christ was crucified, to this Passover this year on April the 3rd, it will be 1,993 years, which leaves us a 7-year gap to be 2,000 years. In the book of Esther, chapter 2, verse 18, there's talk of a wedding feast that lasts for 7 days. Her husband, King Xerxes, means Lion King, which is a picture of King Jesus, the Lion of Judah. The word Esther means hidden or I will hide. There are so many signs right now of something big coming. If you do not have a relationship with Jesus, you need to get one now. The Bible says that if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe that he died, was buried, and rose again for the remission of your sins, you will be saved. Don't wait until it's too late.
This lady had a question, and I was happy to answer it.
This video is for World Talk, Euro Talk. Please let us know what you're seeing. From an American who is getting very censored media. They are very much censoring the media. And, you know, there's a great line of, he who owns the media controls the narrative, right? And so, especially with this new algorithm, especially with the fact that United States TikTok is owned by Oracle, what we're seeing isn't what the rest of the world is seeing. I have turned on my VPN and I can Google information, but even Google is not going to show us the live videos that you guys are seeing. Tag me, repost. Please tell us what you're seeing throughout the world, because we're not seeing it, and we know it's bad. We know it's bad.
Wow. So peaceful. Iranians, the hot drone reported over Dubai, as Tehran counteroffensive beyond Israel, alarming Gulf. Whoa. So scary. What the heck? It was yesterday.
Most people think that Jesus isn't walking among us today anymore. But what if I told you that I knew for a fact that he is, and I could prove it to you? Early in June of 2021, a young man was very intensely staring at his pair of shoes, and then he looked out the door and then back at his shoes. Outside, there was a beautiful green forest, and he was just getting mentally prepared to what would be the most difficult walk of his life. Because you see, a few months earlier, this young man had nearly been killed in a motorcycle accident when a 6-passenger van hit him going 60 miles per hour. It was an impossible crash, and even though he wasn't religious, he just had this feeling that it couldn't be a coincidence that he was still alive. He barely survived, he couldn't even walk, he could barely talk, and even thinking was difficult because of the permanent brain damage. So this walk that he was about to go on was a very big deal because he could barely even do it. And if he collapsed in the middle of this walk, then no one would find him for hours. But something inside of him just told him that he had to do it, he was going to stop moping around, and he was going to make his life count. He was going to get better. So this young man gets the courage, and he finally bends over, reaches towards his shoes, puts on one shoe at a time, and then he walks out the door, and he starts putting one foot in front of the other, and as he does that, it's painful. He feels like there's a knife just stuck in his spine, but he's determined. He's gonna keep walking. And about 5 minutes into the walk, he begins to feel a little bit lightheaded. So I'm just gonna sit down for a minute. He waits for this lightheadedness to pass, and he gets up and he keeps going. Now, very quickly, that lightheadedness would return, but this time, he just begins to feel this weightlessness. And as he's standing just underneath this huge and beautiful magnolia tree with an intoxicating floral scent, he just sees as the ground underneath him begins to disappear. So he closes his eyes, and when he opens them again, he immediately begins to scream, because all of a sudden now he was looking at himself from above, and as he's just screaming his lungs out, he just feels this immense wave of peace come over him. And then he hears a sweet and calm voice that would give him a message he would remember for the rest of his life. You're still alive for a reason, so make every day count. Immediately after, he blinks, and just like that, he was back in his body, and the pain was almost completely gone. A few years later, this young man would fully recover, start a business, and even become successful, but this actually made him more miserable because he felt like his life still didn't have meaning. He was failing this voice, and it wasn't until he finally understood the words and understood whose voice he had heard all of those years back did he finally know his life had found meaning. The young man in that story was me, and the voice that I heard all of those years back was the voice of none other than Jesus Christ, which is why I know with 100% certainty that he is with us today at every single moment, and there is nothing that we can say or do to change his love for us, because I didn't even believe, and he did not leave me. So if I have one message to the world, is that remember, no matter what you've done, who you are, what you think is so bad about you, there is one person that will love you more than you can ever love yourself. The man who conquered death for you, to remind you that there is one thing that is more powerful than any evil in this world, and that is love. And I'll leave you with one of my favorite scriptures: he who dwells in love dwells in God, and God dwells in him. Thank you so much for watching my story. I'm on a mission to reach 1 million people and inspire them to be a little bit more like Christ every single day. So follow along the journey as we grow closer to him.
Driving to the Florida Everglades National Park used to look like. Sad.
Living with the Devil, the Judith Barzey story. One day, Maria walked in and noticed that Judith's eyes were really red and swollen, and when she looked closer, she saw that Judith had no eyelashes. Judith had plucked out all of her eyelashes, and you can kind of see it in this picture. Now, not only does she have big bald spots on her head, now she's picked at her eyebrows so much she's missing patches there too. And Judith is screaming out for help, but nobody's listening. Maria took Judith on set to perform her role. The makeup artist said, "What's going on with her eyelashes?" You know what they did? Covered it up with makeup and sent her off on set. But the trauma doesn't stop there. One day, Maria enters the living room to find the family cat cowering in a corner, scared to death, and when she looked closer, she saw all the cat's whiskers were missing. Judith plucked all the cat whiskers out. Please don't blame Judith. It's not her fault. She did what a lot of child victims do. She targeted something smaller than herself to feel some type of power because she was being abused so much. By now, Judith is 9 years old. She's a star. She's a household name. But with all that success, her father's behavior is only getting worse. He would now spend his days slobbering drunk, staggering through the yard, raising hell about how his family is so ungrateful for all he's done for them. Mind you, this man hasn't struck a lick in years and has been nothing but a monster. One day, the neighbors are outside watching Judith fly a kite, not bothering anyone, when all of a sudden, here comes the tyrant Joseph to ruin the moment. He yelled at her, calling her stupid, saying she didn't even know how to fly a kite. He yanked it out of the air, broke it, and threw it down, and then grabbed her by her arm, jerked her into the house, and beat her. Neighbors said they didn't call the police or get involved because they thought Joseph was just drunk and blowing off some steam. It didn't seem like that big of a deal. Then Joseph gets his hands on a semi-automatic pistol just so he can terrorize her even more. Quite often, he would press it against her head and say, "I made you what you are, and I can take it all away like that." Joseph's behavior is so out of control now that Maria's friends and Judith's agent are begging her to take Judith and leave him. Her agent said, "Maria, what are you doing? You have plenty of money, transportation, a way out. You can go anywhere around the world that you want. Why are you staying with him?" Maria would respond the same way every time. "I don't want to lose our big house, our lifestyle that we worked so hard for. A messy divorce could be embarrassing. That could ruin Judith's career." Judith's agent said, "Her career does her no good if she's dead. Get that child out of there before he kills her." On June 6, 1988, it was her 10th birthday, but there was no cake, no party, no ice cream or balloons, no presents, because Maria was too afraid of what Joseph would do if people came over. Imagine being so famous and having so much money, yet you can't even have a birthday party because your father is a monster and your mom refuses to leave him. Her father did give her a bicycle for her birthday, but then he dictated how she played with it. She couldn't even enjoy it. He called her dumb and stupid and said she didn't know how to ride it right, therefore she didn't deserve it, and she was an ungrateful brat. She can't even ride her bike in peace. He said, "You're nothing. You wouldn't have any of this without me," and then he jerked the bike away and sent her in the house on her birthday. She knew any gift her father gave her was never really a gift. It was all about control. And let's not forget, he hadn't worked in years. The bike was bought with her own damn money, so was it really a gift? So then Judith gets the role in Jaws, and her mom is told they will be filming in the Bahamas. So Maria tells Joseph, and he's not happy about that. But he knows someone's got to pay the bills, and it damn sure ain't gonna be him, so he allows Maria and Judith to go to the Bahamas and shoot the movie Jaws. But before they left, he cornered Judith in the kitchen and put his weapon to her head and said, "If you don't come back, I will find you and blow your..." damn head off. You better come back. Judith might have been working in the Bahamas, but it was so much better than being at home. It was a vacation for her. This is when Maria's friends get mad at her because they claim they told Maria, this is the perfect opportunity for you to get away from him. He has no transportation, no money. He can't find you. Now's the time to run away. But Maria did not listen to her friends, and it's a damn shame. She booked a flight and brought Judith right back home to Joseph, knowing what he was going to do to her. So when they come back from the Bahamas, it's a sad scene. Judith does not even want to walk through the door because she knows this monster is going to start. Of course, he threw a fit. He began throwing and breaking things and yelling at Judith. You think you're so special because you work with celebrities? You're not. You're trash. You're nothing. You're ugly and stupid. They would never like you. They're just using you to make money. You're a cash cow. Like a typical enabler, Maria quickly cleaned up his mess, covered up her daughter's injuries, and pretended like nothing happened. Maria knows that Joseph now has access to a loaded weapon. He can actually take them out like that, and she stays. So Joseph starts blowing through large amounts of money, and that's when Maria tells her friends that she's now had enough and she wants to leave. He only abused, berated, and degraded her daughter every day for years, but we can work through that. But let him blow some money and she's ready to leave. That year, Maria puts a deposit down on an apartment and tells her friends and family that she is finally going to take Judith and leave Joseph. The only problem was Maria didn't actually leave Joseph. She still stayed there even though they had the apartment. Maria's excuse now was that she was waiting on Judith's $12,000 tax check because they needed that money to start a new life. Judith's agent said, the hell with that check. Judith makes enough money and gets enough royalties for y'all to start over. Just go. But Maria didn't listen because she didn't want Joseph to get that check. Her greed and the wanting of material things was getting the best of her. Judith's agent said, do you care more about the money or Judith? And Maria said, of course I care about my child, but she stayed. Then Maria did the one thing a victim should never do. She told Joseph that she and Judith had a way out. They got an apartment and they were going to leave if he didn't change. She's still trying to make it work with this man, knowing damn well he hates Judith and he will never change. She moves a lamp and some clothes here and there to show Joseph, I'm serious, we're going to leave if you don't change. But Joseph is not changing. He's only getting worse. Joseph knew they were slipping out of his control and he better act fast before they get out. Judith knew something bad was about to happen because she started giving her toys away to the couple of friends that she had, saying that she wouldn't need them anymore, but not further explaining why. Mid-1988, someone called CPS and filed a report saying that Judith was not safe, and they sent a CPS caseworker out to DeBarzy home, and when they got there, a clean, sober Joseph answered the door. He was nice, charming, he even cracked a couple of jokes, and after talking with him, the caseworker said the claims were unfounded, so they closed the case. And that's weird because they didn't even talk to Judith. Don't you think you should have at least talked to her? You know, the person who's being abused. And despite the abuse at home, she landed another great role, that of Ducky in The Land Before Time. She starred in so many classics. Judith snags a role of a lifetime, voicing the role of Anne-Marie in a movie called All Dogs Go to Heaven. Judith and her mom got to meet several big celebrities who played in this movie, and Judith began recording her lines. The crew had no idea that would be the last time they saw Judith and Maria live. So again, Judith's agent asked Maria, what are you doing? Why haven't you left yet? And Maria's excuse now is, he won't sign off on the deed. I'm not letting him have the house. We worked too hard for it. Her friends kept warning her, take Judith and get the hell out of there before he y'all. But Maria wouldn't listen because she couldn't let go of the house and didn't want to lose anything in a divorce. Judith's agent knew this was not going to end well, and she was right. She became so concerned that she started calling their home on a regular basis just to check on Judith and Maria. Oh, trigger warning, this story is about to take an even darker turn. One day, Joseph tells a friend that he's going to unalive his family, but that friend thinks, oh, Joseph's just playing. He would never do that. But Joseph was dead serious, and he was about to start planning a horrific crime. And that friend didn't tell anyone what Joseph had said to him until it was already too late. In the weeks after her 10th birthday, all of a sudden, Joseph becomes very calm. No screaming, no fighting, no threatening, no intimidation. You can ask any criminologist, psychiatrist, or victim of abuse, and they'll all tell you the same thing. It's called the calm before the storm. And when that abuser becomes calm, all hell's about to break loose. Of course, Joseph notices Maria is slowly moving things out. There's a CPS caseworker. People are talking. The walls are closing in, and he is slowly losing grip on his wife and child. And on July 24th, 1988, Joseph decided he was no longer waiting to see if Maria was going to leave him or not. No, he was going to make that decision for her and Judith. As Maria finished tidying up the house, Joseph watched TV, Judith brushed her teeth, and went on to bed. Maria thought it would be like any other night. Joseph would just drink himself until he passed out. Boy, was she wrong, because Joseph was about to fulfill a promise he'd been threatening for years. Joseph got up out of his chair, grabbed his pistol, and creaked down the hallway into Judith's bedroom, pointed that pistol at her face, and pulled the trigger. He shot her in the face. He was so jealous of her that he didn't want anyone to ever see her face again, so he destroyed it. She was unrecognizable. We think what happened next was Maria heard the shot and came running towards Judith's bedroom, and that was when he shot her in the hallway. He put the weapon down, poured himself a drink, and sat there and chilled in the house with his wife and daughter's bodies for 2 full days. In that moment, Joseph knew he had won. He took out the competition. He took out his wife, who would now never leave him. The next day, Joseph went outside into the front yard and got the paper. He watered the garden. He waved at the neighbors. Think about that. He cared more about nurturing the lawn than he did his own child. By the 3rd day, Judith's agent was calling because she had missed a Hanna-Barbera audition, and Joseph answered the phone like nothing was wrong. He said, oh, her and Maria went to San Diego because they wanted to see the ocean. By July 27th, their bodies were decaying. The house smelled like death, but But Joseph decided he wasn't going to prison. He wasn't going to take accountability for their deaths. He started pouring the gas in Judith's bedroom first because he hated her the most, and then he poured it all throughout the house. But he ain't done yet. He then calls Judith's agent because he don't like her, but claims he just wants to say goodbye. But what he's really doing is striking the match, setting the house on fire, and then unalives himself while on the phone with her. Of course, he had to traumatize Judith's agent as well. She was a big part of why Judith was so famous and was trying to save Judith. Therefore, he hated her too. When the news of her death got out, not a state, not a country, but the world cried for her. Now, during this time, Burt Reynolds was in the process of filming his lines for All Dogs Go to Heaven when he found out about Judith's murder. Burt was so emotional while filming this scene, it took him over 63 takes to get the scene right. It was already a heart-shattering scene, but to know that she had been murdered by her own father, it just tore Burt up. And as sad as it is, this is one of the most iconic moments in movie history because of Judith and Burt. Both are no longer with us, but all I can hope is that they're in heaven singing and dancing and she's finally happy and free of her parents' prison. The case would bring a lot of attention to what child stars go through at home, child abuse, domestic violence, and CPS corruption and neglect. Because the blood is not just on Joseph's hands here, it's on the hands of everyone that failed this child too.
Hannibal Lecter, not found in the Epstein files. Well, he should be, and I'm going to explain. Let me start out by saying this one isn't for the faint of heart. No, seriously.
Yeah,
to make sense of this
yucky.
one, I need to take you way back to one of our founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin. Oh, and that's Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, I want to take you way back to Benjamin Franklin's house where 1,200 buried bones were found in the basement. A gruesome discovery in Ben Franklin's house that had us wondering if Ben Franklin was a serial killer. And I want to show you the new research that suggests that young red stuff can have rejuvenating effects on older bodies. Scientists revealed that young red stuff can restore aging skin, bringing back youthful vitality and texture. And have you seen what Kim Kardashian does? Yeah, it's called a bloody vampire facial. No shocker that her mom went from looking like this to looking like that. And well, I want to show you some more. Here's good old Ben Franklin and Hannibal Lecter. And here's our 15th president, James Buchanan.
Wow.
James Buchanan, who looks strikingly like Anthony Hopkins and has a scar right here that lines up oh so perfectly with Mr. Hannibal Lecter. But it's not just that scar. There seems to be a hole right there in his face, right where this mole was, in the exact same spot. And then there's one right here that is quite unmistakable on both of them. Right there and right there. And here's good old James Buchanan's wife and Anthony Hopkins' daughter. She played a different role this time. Do you think good old Ben Franklin's wife might look like that person? Looks like a pretty good darn match to me. Symmetry, head shape, similar look and chin. But of course that's speculation. But they were pretty darn accurate with these old portraits back in the day. And you think maybe we can find some similar marks like that guy that was right there on both James Buchanan and Hannibal Lecter himself? Sure seems like they sketched that one in, wouldn't you say? Right there and right there. The same spot on their cheek. And then we go down and remember that hole he had? Well, it sure looks like there's a discoloration in that exact spot. See that? The hole? And then just a coincidental discoloration right there. And I can also help but notice how there seems to be a little scar there, an indentation there, kind of in the exact same spot above the lip there of good old Hannibal. And you know what else I found oh so interesting? Ben Franklin's hobbies. He loved musical pursuits. He also enjoyed playing chess, kind of like Anthony Hopkins is deeply passionate about music and has a noted affinity for chess. And what else was Ben Franklin known for? Oh, he was a brilliant inventor, right? Kind of like Anthony Hopkins plays in many roles. Anthony Hopkins, a wealthy inventor. Anthony Hopkins portrayed as an inventor. He also played Dr. So-and-so, a historical figure who invented cornflakes. But yeah, sure, The bones were found there because there was a mortuary in his house after he lived there. Yeah, right. Entertainment only, though of course I don't really think that they're shape-shifting fallen angels that rely on blood to help them keep youthful. No, that's fantasy stuff. And they don't ever mock us by putting the truth right in plain sight. Shout out to my buddy Mark, who helped me make this connection after I made this one. They've been here a lot longer than most of you realize. Entertainment only, though, of course. Oh, by the way, stop voting for them, stop watching them on the TV, stop listening to their music, and most of all, take your power back. You deserve it, because you're a beautiful spiritual being, and the Father put you here for a purpose. Figure it out and help people. Have a nice day.
So if you're from Pasco County, Florida, actually, you know what? If you are from Hernando County, Florida, Ocala, Florida, like just from the state of Florida in general, like stay with me. And if you're into like bizarre paranormal stuff, still stay with me. If you're not into that kind of stuff, feel free to scroll, because I don't want anybody saying, hey, you're a weirdo or this or that, blah, blah, blah. We don't have time for that. We got time for discovering weird stuff, okay? Okay, so recently I made a video about how it was coming to light that Pasco County had seen a winged humanoid, type creature in the sky, that there had been sightings of that. Few of you confirmed that, stating that you had actually seen stuff like that. So it was very interesting, but I started diving into it a little further. So first interesting situation is that, did you know Jeepers Creepers was actually filmed here in Florida, actually like the Ocala, Dunellen area? Yeah, and I always kind of think like Hollywood puts things right in front of us. You know, Steven Spielberg is notorious for that. I know Steven Spielberg didn't, direct Jeepers Creepers, but I just, I'm a firm believer that Hollywood likes to do that. But to stay in the area of like Ocala and stuff, did you know that there are a lot of sightings of Bigfoot in that area? Like the Ocala National Forest, there's actually been sightings of Bigfoot. I've actually had a friend who told me in Hernando County, so this is Hernando County, if you're in Hernando, that they had an encounter with a Bigfoot, like a juvenile Bigfoot. So it's very interesting. So if you've ever had a kind of, and actually there was a few comments that stated that you did have a situation with Bigfoot or a sighting. So like more on that, if you have had an experience like that, please let me know. This is the thing, actually Pasco and Hernando and a lot of Florida is a hot spot for paranormal activity. Isn't that wild? I think back to the video I made about the gentleman who had seen the rake kind of creature, got on the top of his truck, scratched it, flipped over, ran back into the woods. And then also someone adding on to that, seen a dogman creature in those, maybe a mile away from there. Now, if you talk to people in North Carolina, they fully believe this. They have their own encounters. And of course it's by the, Appalachian mountain area, But the thing is, it seems like these kind of cryptid creatures tend to migrate in areas where there was a lot of tragedy and stuff like that, like dark things that happen. In North Carolina, it was a big battleground. And also the Conjuring House was not too far from there. So I think that is what happens with Florida. Florida's kind of, it's different. It's got a lot of different kind of history, like going back millions of years, hundreds of years, thousands of years. It's just it's unusual. Now I'm going to first start with Pangea, right? So that is the theory that, once upon a time, all the land masses were somehow connected, right? So I start to think about where Florida connected in this land mass together. Well, and here is where Florida is. You see Florida there? Let me get it closer. So Florida is connected to Venezuela, Africa, so the reason I bring this up is because there are a lot of things in those particular areas that are very unusual and spiritual, paranormal, And guys, we were connected to that once upon a time, if Pangea theory was correct. So then I found this interesting too, is that 77 million years ago, half of the United States was divided into water, right? You see all the areas the states that were underwater, including Florida, right? So this means that we had prehistoric animals, beings, type things that were living above us, right? And also we have the Bermuda Triangle, right? And that could have extended over Florida, and, there's a lot of theories that the Bermuda Triangle could be some kind of paranormal vortex or something with frequency, wavelengths, an alien base. I don't know, but there could be something to that. But now also, Florida is a major paranormal hotspot due to 400 plus years of violent, tragic history, including pirate raids, shipwrecks, epidemics, the wars combined with high numbers of historic, continuously occupied structures. It's just been, it's been a landmass of a lot of different things that really, like North Carolina, could promote certain things that are attracted to darker vibes in that area. You know what I'm saying? And that goes for Pasco and Hernando counties. They're considered hotspots for paranormal activity due to a combination of 19th century frontier history, tragic deaths, and specific reportedly haunted locations. Like in Hernando, now my girl Autumn is one who knows this a lot, but the Maystringer house in Brooksville is a huge hotspot. But then in Pasco County, now I know a lot of you had told me Anclo area that you experienced some unusual paranormal stuff, or even seeing like the Mothman or winged humanoid creature, and that is considered a hot spot for paranormal activity. Also, like the Richie Suncoast Theater, Captain Jeff House in Zephyr Hills. Well, there's Zephyr Hills. And that's where a lot of the reports were coming from, this humanoid winged creature in Zephyr Hills. And there's a lot of like dark kind of history in Zephyr Hills actually too. And then also too, the amount of Indian burial grounds like throughout the state of Florida also contribute to the high number of paranormal activity and possible cryptid creatures living there. So the next time your friend is like, oh my gosh, I think I saw something really unusual, I've seen Bigfoot, I saw, a winged humanoid creature flying across the sky, or a dog man, or this, or a ghost, you probably should listen to them, because more than likely they really did see it. I'm just saying, like, truth is stranger than fiction, ladies and gentlemen, and we're starting to see that in 2026. And as many of you have already said, the veil is thinning. Guys, let me know. Let me know. If you are in Florida, tell me your stories of the bizarre, because I am into it, and I believe you.
They were not exactly super transparent on this issue, unfortunately. But now that the task force has been created, I've been able to, guide the members within the boundaries of what they're actually cleared for.
When people look at this, they look online, they say there's a lot out there. There's a lot of people talking about encounters. There's a lot of people talking about videos, and we've seen a lot of that. Can we just cut it down to, you believe that we have encountered alien beings and that they've come to Earth and that we know about it as a U.S. government?
That seems to be the case. I don't like to characterize necessarily where they came from. They're definitely some kind of non-human sentience, but it is true, believe it or not, we've recovered the vehicles, and we actually have physical proof, and I was actually partially cleared into some of those activities. It was beyond oral testimony provided to me. I actually had partial access to the data and actually read the intelligence reports resulting from those programs.
And with your own eyes, correct. You saw it?
Yes.
And so when people say this is kooky, this is out there, there's nothing to back it up.
I don't speak for other parts of the government, but I can tell you NASA, which I speak for, is open and transparent with our data.
Do you believe what Mr. David Grush said, or is he lying?
Whatever he said, where's the evidence?
What do you say?
Certainly members of this current administration are very, very well aware of this reality. Certainly the current president is very knowledgeable on this subject, and I trust his leadership on it. And I think he's assembled an A-team cabinet, and I really believe if Trump wants to be the greatest president and the most consequential leader likely in world history, he certainly has the knowledge, the capabilities, and understanding of some of these sensitive government transparency issues.
I have access, and I speak to people about it. I've had actually meetings on it. People that are very smart and very solid have said they believe there is something out there. And, you know, it makes sense that there could be. I've never been convinced, even despite that. You know, I just, for some reason, it's not my thing.
So you think, one, he knows, and two, he's open to transparency on UAPs?
He certainly is very well informed on this issue. Leave it at that. I don't want to get ahead of what the president might want to reveal personally.
There's been a role to cover this up, you're saying, through administrations. And there have been people who have been threatened and told not to testify?
I was physically threatened even before I sent in my Intelligence Community Inspector General report under the previous administration. I actually had to go and seek legal protection that way because I was, you know, literally in fear both professionally and in my personal life.
And when you mentioned in that testimony of recovering the pilots or remains non-human.
I've been researching what I think is one of the oldest sites in Egypt. And, like, nobody talks about it. It's called Casa El Saga. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's this, like, ancient temple site, which at first glance doesn't look like maybe much, but the more that you look at it, the more, like, confusing and mysterious it is, and the more that no one knows really how old it is or what the hell it was for. First off, it's massive, as in, like, 50-ton plus blocks. Look, for size reference, that's like a man. And you can see the entranceway is like 2 men. So huge blocks, and the style, huge, like, megalithic style of brick. It uses that really swanky building technique where they literally carve the brick around the corner of the building, which apparently is really good for, like, earthquake proofing your temple. I mean, this thing's been here for thousands of years. It's still standing. But you can see here, like, ever so impressive how they literally carve and shape it out. Very similar to what is in Peru, but also similar to what is in up in Cairo, about 100 kilometers away, with the Sphinx Temple, the Valley Temple. They do this stuff there. Another weird, interesting thing is that there is not an inscription in sight. This is a completely bare, there's no hieroglyphs, there's no pictures, there's no decoration, there's, like, nothing. It's completely bare, just its beauty is in its minimalism. 1979, there was some, like, excavation work around, and they found some pottery and some grains and things that dated to the Middle Kingdom. So they were like, oh, it's a Middle Kingdom structure. But I don't think it is. I think it's way older. And here's the why. Okay, number one, the location of the lake. So the red dot is where the temple is in current day. This is a lake that's still there today. It was an ancient lake that was much bigger back in the day. And you can see today that it's, like, literally out in the desert, which is why not many tourists go there. It's kind of quite far out of the way of anything. But it is very far away from the lake. However, it was... when we go back to the Middle Kingdom, it was still really far away from the lake, because even by the Middle Kingdom, it was only about 14 meters below what it is, above what it is now. So really, you've got to go way back to, like, Old Kingdom or before you get to anywhere near the lake meeting the location of this temple. And there is evidence that it would be by the lake, situated by the lake. So, one, that's a big tick for not being in the Middle Kingdom. Number two, the massive blocks. Now, there is a quarry site that would go straight to this site via an ancient road past the lake, but that quarry site and that ancient road stopped being in use in the 5th dynasty. That's, like, pretty early on in the Egyptian timeline. So if the quarry road was stopped being in use after the 5th dynasty, how did they get the big blocks there in the Middle Kingdom? They think it was because the lake was getting lower and lower and lower by the 5th dynasty, super early, so they couldn't use the water to transport the blocks, because that's like how it was done. So again, the lake and the quarry road linking in together. Some of the particular stone tooling things as well are super reminiscent of other super early kingdom Egyptian stuff. So you've got like the massive drill holes, and particularly this very cool technique that they use on the front of these old granite boxes, which they replicate in the temple. Let me explain with the visual. See these like carved, they're like poles, but that is literally carved out of the stone. Amazingly circular bit of decoration here, and the curved, I don't know, like bit at the top, these look like Elephantine Island boxes, like this. And there is an argument that the Elephantine Island granite boxes were old legacy items from early dynastic or even pre-dynastic Egypt. Again, super similar style. Another major thing is the carbon dating and biosurface luminescence dating. So in the 90s and the 80s, they did a big Egyptian carbon dating project, and they carbon dated all of like the Giza Plateau, including this site. And guess what? It came out with the oldest carbon dating of a building site in Egypt. It was older than the pyramids, according to the carbon dating, which came out. The carbon dating came out that said the pyramids were around 350 years older than the standard timeline. And this was older than the pyramids, so like 500 years older than that. And the surface luminescence dating sits from the stonework, dates it from 2900 BC to 3700 BC, which is technically before the ancient Egyptians. So I think all in all that we need to reevaluate and do way more research onto this site. I also think that this isn't the only one. I think that this is one of many that were most probably still currently intact but buried under the Sahara Desert. Because today it's quite into the desert, but I think if they were building them this far out, that early, you can only imagine what's all over here. What do you think?
All right. We're going to take a little pause for the cause here and go to our first music break. On this break, we have the lovely and talented Miss Mia Savage from the Phoenix, Arizona area. She will be singing Bury Me in Heaven, the bottom line, singing to your grave and not a phase. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
doesn't matter, because it's just a ride, and we can change it anytime we want.
Totally a choice. No record, no work, no job, no savings of money.
Just a choice right now between fear and love. Right now, between fear and love.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. That was Miss Mia Savage with her band Antidote for Savages. And she was rocking it pretty hardcore. I'm going down to Phoenix soon, and I'm hoping I get to see her or at least have lunch with her. I really wish she'd move back up here already. All right, Merry March, everyone. A new month has begun. We got a full moon, aka blood moon, coming on the 3rd. And then we have the lovely daylight savings time coming up on the 8th. I can hardly wait. Ain't nothing like messing with your sleep schedule. All right, well, let's get back into our Trippy TikToks.
Ladies and gentlemen and others, we have yet again another delusional ex-MAGA, and Christ and his duty-free carry-on, you are going to love this one.
For those that don't know, I am a 3-time Trump voter. I left MAGA in 2025, and, you know, I am trying to use my voice the best way that I can, and sharing information that I'm learning for the first time ever.
Sounds logical, sounds perfectly sane, doesn't it? I was in MAGA. Except when you hear the I voted from 3 times.
I did not know about Katie Johnson before about a week ago.
And that's odd, isn't it? Because I, a white, British, non-Christian woman in Liverpool, I'd heard about her. Why hadn't you?
And if I didn't know about her, I'm willing to bet that there are a lot of people who are also have left MAGA or still in MAGA supporting it that don't know about her story.
It wasn't my fault. I mean, it's not like I have adult analytical skills or the ability to question anything.
We were also just very focused on the fact that Trump was draining the swamp. He was just projecting. Like, I now see it for what it is now. But like, I never heard someone say, yeah, he's just projecting here. Like, he is the swamp.
In over 10 years, you never heard a single person questioning Trump's use of that phrase. You never heard anyone discussing Trump and what he had allegedly been guilty of. And if you did, you just turned your face away, like a good Christian woman.
Never heard that. Never once, like, yes, I heard that you grab him by the thing, heard all that, but like, I'm also under the impression that this is God's plan. This, he's anti-abortion. He's our guy.
He's men's guy, but he's not women's guy. I mean, he's anti-abortion. Yes, okay, you're a Christian, but surely you had the intelligence to question what an abortion is. No, actually, you probably didn't, did you?
So there's a lot that went into the brainwashing and indoctrination into supporting MAGA.
At this point, you're going to be saying, man, come on, if we want people to leave MAGA, we have to be welcoming and open arms. And, we have to be willing to take these people in, especially if they're contrite about what they've done and they're willing to take accountability.
Now, I say all this to say that I will not be shamed.
She will not be shamed about voting for Trump 3 times, about making absolutely no effort to find out about what's going on in her actual country. She will not be shamed. And again, I can hear you saying, all right, but still, she seems reasonable. But it's only when you find out that people went into her comments and said, that's great, come over, but I will never forgive you for voting 3 times. Come help us fight the good fight. But I will never forgive you for what you've put families through, for what you've put women through. And this was her reaction to that.
I thought it would be easier the more I talked about leaving MAGA, being a 3-time Trump voter. But I have to be completely honest with you that it's not getting easier, and it actually feels like it's getting more difficult.
Awful it must be being separated from your entire family and thrown into that concentration. Oh no, that wasn't you, was it?
And I don't think people really realize how counterintuitive the hate that I receive when you can take one look at my page and see that I am doing the work.
Fair enough. If that work means sitting online, crying your eyes out, censoring yourself, taking no accountability for what you've put other people through.
I read a comment this morning that I'm not stitching because I don't want hate to come her way, but you'll understand why I'm reading it. I've been deconstructing from Christianity and left MAGA. I do not speak about it because the hate you receive from the left is no different from the hate you received when you were in the cult.
And now blaming the left for her own personal decisions.
I'm just minding my own business and rewiring my whole belief system. What people don't understand is how hard it is to actually wake up and realize your entire life has been a lie, and now you have to start over from scratch.
I mean, let's not forget that she's talking about ethically and morally, not as in your entire family has been thrown back into a country you have absolutely no contacts with whatsoever, you have no understanding of, you know nobody in that country, and yet you've been ejected from the country you've known your whole life. That's slightly more sad, isn't it, than having to think, oh God, I was a Christian and now I'm not a Christian, and I was MAGA and now I'm not MAGA. However will I cope? It's all about me.
I'm not going to allow any negativity from anyone into my life. It's hard enough to do this. I can't see. I had to stop and gather myself.
Jesus Christ, my heart pumps purple piss. You have got to stop, because you are doing yourself no favours. You and people like you have enacted on other people of violence, and now you want us all to go doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Hey, Karen's come over to the right side. She's a great person, isn't she? Oh, well done for voting for him 3 times and then deciding you want to jump ship. Well done for tearing all of those families apart. Well done for voting in a madman. A man who is causing chaos across the entire planet. But no, we should all focus on making you feel better.
Not only that, I'm not going to be a part of any political party or religion ever again, so the expectation of the left thinking we have to vote blue now in order to make amends or something is not something I want to be a part of.
And now, emotional blackmail, abdication of any kind of responsibility to correct what's happened in that country whatsoever, and making herself the centre of attention. Me, I'm not going to vote because you've all made me feel really bad about bringing in a madman. I mean, yes, there were literally thousands of people online screaming about him being the next Schmittler, but I didn't listen, and now I want all of the applause. You're all making me really sad. Get a grip.
The amount of "I'll never forgive you" I see in your last video is enough for me to never try to speak up on anything that's happened to get me here. Seeing my truth and removing myself from it has been the hardest thing I've ever done.
I don't think it's too strong a word to use when I say you're a hero. Is that what you want to hear? Is that what you and the person who wrote that comment want to hear? You're heroes. Oh my God, you finally come over. I mean, it only took you over 11 years. It only took you thousands of people screaming, watching television screens with people being torn apart, with the nation being destroyed, with the poor losing their money. That's all it took for you to go, oh, hang on a minute. Maybe this isn't the right way. You sat there in your white privilege, and now you're sitting here online with more privilege, more crying, more tears, more. Why isn't everybody applauding me? Why aren't I getting all of the applause? Why are people being so mean to me? People are being mean because you did it 3 times. You had 3 times to learn. You're supposed to be a Christian. You're supposed to follow the words of Jesus Christ, and yet you did the absolute opposite in your voting. And now you want us, the people who have been fighting this and screaming about this and warning about this and protesting about this, you want us to get on our knees and go, thank you so much, Karen. That's not her name, by the way. Thank you so much, Karen, for coming and joining us in this fight 11 years too late. I'm saying 11 years, by the way, because Trump had a lead up to the election. This attitude is what is killing people, because you are taking absolutely no accountability for what you've done. If you sat there and your tears were for somebody else, I'd be listening, but your tears are for yourself. You expected to sit there and say, I'm not MAGA anymore, people, and everyone to go, oh my God, you're the most amazing person in the world. You're never going to get that, and you need to take accountability for what you've done, and you're taking none. No, not even any responsibility. You're just sitting there feeling sorry for yourself, and that is what pisses people off.
Hey everyone. So first of all, don't panic. I have a Tesla. My car is driving itself. I want everyone to stop using ChatGPT. So this is a PSA. And I might make a more formal video about this at some point with all my facts and my research. But for now, I just want to point things out just by way of analogy. So they say that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? Now imagine that the people that you spend the most time with, you know, you feel good, but you feel good when you spend time with them because they're always validating you and they're never honest with you. And their incentive is to just get you to engage with them as much as possible. So they're just professional people pleasers. Like imagine that's your friend group. They're just people pleasers. They're just enablers. And when you need hard feedback, they'll do everything they can to avoid giving you that hard feedback because they're afraid of losing you. That's basically how ChatGPT is coded. And I will say, to be fair, all large language models, or I guess chatbots, AI chatbots, have some level of validation problems with being validating to humans because they're trained on human feedback. But ChatGPT is particularly bad, and I think part of it is because their business model, something about their business model has made it so they've made product decisions to emphasize getting the user to stay engaged rather than getting the user to the truth.
No.
Now, those update, I think it was ChatGPT 4.0 back in April, where it became noticeably more sycophantic. And this is documented, and actually OpenAI acknowledged that it was more sycophantic, and to their credit, they rolled back the update because people were complaining. It's like, wow, this thing is like, it's like insane levels of people pleasing. And the reason that that update was even pushed out in the first place is because as a business, they're trying to optimize for engagement, right? Like that doesn't happen by accident. They made a product decision, and again, to their credit, they realized that they went too far and they rolled it back, but originally they did make a product decision to try to create something that gets you to use it more because it validates you and makes you feel good. So just remember, like these AIs, none of them are objective, right? They might be, the companies coding them might be striving for objectivity, but that objectivity priority is in a list of other priorities because they're a business. And with ChatGPT in particular, unlike, and I'm speculating here, but unlike, let's say, Gemini, which is owned by Google, and Google has a whole suite of different products that they have built their business on, so they're not completely reliant on Gemini, or XAI, right? That's part of the Elon ecosystem. They're not completely reliant on Grok being the most used chatbot in the world. ChatGPT, OpenAI, it's their only product. And their model is, hey, we need to get as many users on ChatGPT as possible because they're B2C, so business to consumer.
Yeah.
That's their primary.
You know, one of the things I get asked a lot on this app are why are Native American ceremonies or practices considered closed, and why are they not allowed to be recorded or documented? Now, this question is very nuanced and it is very tribe specific in a lot of cases. And there's a lot of levels of complexity to this. I could do a whole series on it, which if you guys want, I can absolutely do that. But for now, I'm just going to explain one aspect of this that may not be exactly the answer you think it is. That is, why can you not record or document certain Native American practices? Now, if you ask just about any Native person who is a practicing Native or a connected Native person, they'll tell you basically the same thing. It's out of respect. And that is absolutely true. Native American people, by culture, are an oral traditional people, meaning that our teachings, our songs, our stories are often told through voice rather than through writing. Now, one of the common misconceptions is that Native American people did not have written language, which is not true. Native American people have a long tradition of having pictographs and petroglyphs, hide paintings. A lot of Mesoamerican cultures had actual written language, and some turn of the century advancements in language and reading and writing include things like the Cree and Ojibwe syllabics. So it's not that we didn't have the means to document our ways, we just chose not to. And that is because they say that when you write those things down, that you rob the ceremony of the spirit. Much of the same reason why you see people who prefer to read real books rather than read something digitally online or something like that. It just doesn't carry the same type of essence. There are also protocols for telling certain stories. They only be done certain times of year. By documenting or writing them, you would be violating the protocol of that story or of that song or of that teaching. That applies to a lot of different aspects of Native culture, specifically a lot of spiritual practices. However, there is another reason for this that has to do with legality. Most people don't know is that prior to the year 1978, Native American religious practices or Native American spiritual practices were actually outlawed by the United States. So much for that whole freedom of religion thing. It didn't apply to everybody. Native American spirituality is the heart and soul of who we are and a source of strength. And during a time where there's westward expansion and colonization, Native resistance was frowned upon. Shocker. So in an attempt to break the spirit of Native...
Come on now. Work with me here. Come on. I saw
the government passed these laws.
Clear Networks guy pulling out of the driveway the other day when I was coming back home from work. I was like, don't leave, Jack. I'm pretty sure they were hooking up the internet at the neighbor's house, so hopefully we'll be next, because I can't deal with this century stink stuff. It's so disruptive and unprofessional.
Rather didn't apply their own laws to Native people, protecting their religious freedom. And prior to the 1920s and 50s, Native American people weren't even considered U.S. citizens. To stop the resistance, towards relocation and treaty signing and all the other things, take away their source of strength, their spirituality. So if you were caught prior to 1978 practicing specific Native ceremonies, it was in violation of the law. And those charges included things like vagrancy, heathen practices, pagan practices, or something like disturbing the peace. Unlawful gatherings, that's another one. These charges could include things like jail time, taking away your federal benefits or treaty benefits, hard labor, and reduction of food rations. And many people chose to continue practicing Native spirituality and ceremonies in secret. In order to protect our medicine people and ceremonial leaders, they were said not to document because they don't want to get caught. Native American people had very few rights. And all it would take is a home raid or some type of occupation on tribal land for them to receive these tapes for their audio or video and be able to identify the people on those tapes and then send them to jail or give them the other list of punishments for practicing Native ceremonies. Because let's face it, prior to the modern era, other than writings and pictographs and those types of things, audio equipment and video equipment didn't really exist or were accessible within Native communities the way they are today. It just wasn't a thing. But the respect thing is a practice and it is a traditional teaching. The other side of it does have a more modern take to it. It is a newer thing, and that has been adopted over time to fit the respect aspect to it. It also has roots in self-preservation, cultural preservation, and protection for our knowledge keepers and our ceremonial leaders and our spiritual leaders within our communities. So what brings us to today. And these practices have very real roots in both the legal and traditional belief systems. Now, again, this is nuanced. Not everyone's going to see it always the same way. It's important that you always ask or that you find out. Don't ask questions, whatever, in a respectful way. But I wanted to share that with you guys because this, again, something I get asked all the time, and I hope that this was informational to you. You guys want to know more, comment down below and let me know. So the more you know.
If you think God created the world, you're right. If you think God created the world, you're right, but I don't think you understand how right you really are. God created much more than the world we see around us. The Gnostic texts show that the real reality is something called the pleroma. What is it exactly? Well, if you want to understand the full story, make sure to watch until the end. Let's start with a quick breakdown of what the pleroma really is. The word pleroma is Greek for fullness, the total, unbounded fullness of divine existence to be precise. In Gnostic cosmology, it's the totality of what truly exists, the complete expression of the divine nature before anything was diminished or densified into the material world that you currently inhabit. Now, the pleroma is what reality looks like before it gets filtered, before it passes through layer after layer of archonic administration, each one reducing its luminosity until what arrives at the bottom, the physical cosmos, is so distant from the original that the connection is almost unrecognizable. Almost. So to really understand the pleroma, we have to understand the monad. So at the absolute center of the pleroma sits what the Valentinian texts call the monad, the invisible spirit, or the one, described in the Apocrypha of John as existing in pure light, pure stillness, and transcending every category the human mind can construct. The monad emanates, the way a sun radiates light through the overflow of its own nature. It cannot be contained, ever. It expresses itself.
Wow. This just isn't going well.
And what it expresses are the eons. But before we get to that, I have to explain the emanations. So an emanation proceeds from the divine nature in the same way that a thought proceeds from the mind. Genuinely distinct and genuinely real, but never fully separate from its source. Think about light passing through a prism for a minute. The original light is singular and pure. The prism reveals differentiations that are always latent within it. Now, each eon is a differentiation of the divine fullness, a specific quality of the infinite made distinct and conscious within the pleroma's architecture. Okay, now let's talk eons. The Valentinian system describes the pleroma as structured around 30 eons organized in conjugal pairs called syzygies, or masculine and feminine aspects of a single divine quality in perfect union. The first and highest pair is Bythos and Siege, or depth and silence, the monad's first self-expression, abyssal, incomprehensible death dwelling within pregnant possibility-filled silence. From them proceed Nous and Aletheia, mind and truth, the divine intelligence through which the monad comprehends itself, and the truth that's the content of that comprehension, reality as it actually is prior to any distortion. From them proceed Logos and Zoe, or word and life, the divine creative utterance flowing outward into articulated reality, animated by the fundamental aliveness that underlies all existence. From them proceed Anthropos and Ecclesia, the divine human and the assembly, the archetypal template for conscious personhood existing at the divine level, the original of what earthly humanity is, a distant fractured reflection of. These four pairs form the Ogdoad, or the foundational eight, the innermost structure from which all 30 eons proceed, constituting the complete living architecture of the pleroma. And yes, that leads us to Sophia. The last and youngest of the 30 eons is Sophia, or wisdom, and here the pleromatic perfection fractures. Sophia developed a passionate desire to know the monad directly, to create from herself alone, without her syzygy, and outside the relational order that maintained every other eon in harmonious fullness. What emerged bore traces of divine light, but lacked the structural integrity of a genuine pleromatic emanation. This being is Yaldabaoth, the demiurge. Sophia cast him beyond the Horos, the cosmic boundary that separates the pleroma from everything below it. Now, isolated in the darkness, Yaldabaoth looked around and concluded that he was alone. And from that conclusion, he built everything that you see around you. Whoa, so are you saying that this is just like an illusion or something? You're not native to this cosmos. The pneumatic spark within you originated above the Horos. It belongs to the fullness. It carries within it the memory, however dim, of a reality so complete and so luminous that this world registers by comparison as to what it actually is. A very convincing copy of something it's never seen. The pleroma is not a destination you're traveling toward. It's a reality that you fell out of, and the entire Gnostic project is the sustained attempt to hand you the map back. So if you want to learn more about the pleroma, Gnostic cosmology, and the architecture of the divine fullness, make sure to like the video, drop your thoughts in the comments below, head over to the link in my bio for more information about our esoteric community that launches within this week. It is coming soon, so if you're interested, make sure to click that link, and it's where all our deepest research and fun stuff is, so you're going to love it. Check that out and follow for more deep dives like this.
If you've been following my story long, you already know that I'm experiencing the most insane thing to ever happen. And so are many of my friends and family and people from TikTok. I'm telling you, this feels like we pulled the golden thread and we continue to pull it. And the more that we pull it, the more information gets revealed and the more or deeper our understanding of how our entire reality works. It is bonkers what has happened.
Not the
This
wind
is
in the
stuff that has
microphone.
never happened in our recorded history, and it's happening to a lot of people. And the world-changing information is coming through this. We are really understanding how our entire reality works, how all of consciousness works, how advanced quantum mechanics works. This is wild. So when you start understanding how our reality works, like you start realizing, like take society as a whole, which groups of people were the closest to having the right answer, and the answer to that are the hippies. I would never have it, before any of this stuff started happening to us, would never have put any money betting on that being the case. But now, understanding how our reality works, I understand why they are the way that they are. I thought it was lazy, and it's not the case at all. Their priorities are shifted and more in alignment with where they're supposed to be than where society has forced us to be. And one of the craziest things that I would have totally called bullshit on is that our celestial alignments in the sun and the moon have a dramatic effect on our entire reality and your life. I thought astrology was a waste of time. I was like, there's no way that somebody born at the same time as me in the same place, like I know somebody known for a long time, was born on the same birthday as me at the same hospital.
Wow.
We're not alike. So I thought all of these horoscopes and all that stuff's just general, so general that it just applies to everybody, and you're just going to find meaning in it. But I'm not talking necessarily about that. We understand now what happens after you die. We know for sure that reincarnation is real. And if you would like to debate it, I'll drown you in information. When you are born, your soul and your life is connected, and you are encoded through celestial alignments. And when you can do that, you start understanding like the depth that we can go, because we understand how all of consciousness works now. The depth that we can go back in time and start looking at these celestial alignments, and it's deep. It is super deep. You start going into the future. Start playing around with that. Things get a little squirrely. Trying to use AI to kind of play around with that a little bit, it freaks out a little bit. The sun and the moon are not, there's so much more to them than what we're told. So we learned how to use a tool to be able to couple to different dimensions. And I know that sounds insane, but doing it for years, I've taught many people how to do this. You can, after that point, you can learn how to navigate all of them, and I'm telling you, this is wild. And so when you're coupled with these other dimensions, these dimensions are nested on top of us. And so there are beings and all sorts of stuff that live in these dimensions. And when you're coupled with them, you can interact with them and see them. But when you start looking at celestial things, there's wild things that you can do with it. There are things that you can do with the moon that it will launch you into a complete another part of our universe. It is intense. And there are things that you can do with the moon that you need an appointment to do. I've been trying to do this one thing, and we're not talking about occult rituals or anything like that at all. This is actually just understanding how our reality works and how to navigate it. But I've been trying for months. Like, it helps if you do what I'm trying to do on a supermoon. There's more energy in the moon when it's full. I've had events where I am getting blasted by energy from it, to the point to where if I had hair, it'd be all the way blown back, and I'm just going to have trouble walking after, just because I just got obliterated from something from the moon. And then if you don't have an appointment for some of these things, you will not be able to do it.
want you to know. They just can't tell you. Can you see who posted my picture of Elvis and Don L up there? Yeah. And can you see who posted up there my video of how Tim Ballard is Paul Walker? Yep, there it is, right in his feed. And that's an interesting hand symbol he's doing there. I wonder what it means. In Hidden War, I wonder what that could mean. And funny how he posts 200. Interesting number. You know, kind of like the 200 fallen angels that are said to be in Earth. Oh, and that's a cool statue he posted. I wonder what he means by that. And Aaron Rodgers started following me a couple weeks ago. I wonder if it was so I would find out that he was literally Frankenstein. Funny how Aaron has those football cards and looks just like Fred Gwynn, who played Frankenstein. Well, not here, but that's Fred Gwynn. And oh, that's also a man from the 1800s, and that's his wife, and that's Frankenstein's wife, and that's Aaron's former girlfriend. Because like I said, they want you to know. Do you know who that is? That's Mickey Mantle. And do you see who posted that just 11 hours ago? Christian McCaffrey. You know Christian McCaffrey, the guy that just shares an uncanny resemblance to Mick E. Mantle. But not just an uncanny resemblance. They also share the exact same blemishes right there, and right there, and right there. Do you see those two right there? They want you to know. Have you ever seen this guy, Uncle Pappy, who I've done several videos on, being Robin Williams, and how Robin used to also be Teddy Roosevelt? Well, he wants you to know.
Baby. Teddy Roosevelt is looking down from the great Yellowstone in the sky, laughing his ass off, giggling at the beauty of America, man.
They want you to know.
I can't make a video without people comparing me to Robin Williams, and that man brings a damn tear of joy to my eye. I love him so much, man. So I'm gonna do a little Robin impression for y'all, okay? This is Robin Williams talking to me about swimming with the alligators. Let me see now. Pappy, you swim with the alligators. If you get attacked, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's a grand adventure.
They, 1, 2, 1, 2, want you to know.
That was a good impression. That's crazy.
Daddy.
Great Robin Williams as Popeye.
Oh, my hero.
I loved Robin.
I was sorry when he died.
But listen to what she says next.
I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, you don't think he's dead?
No.
Where do you think he is?
Shape-shifting.
Yeah.
He looks real good in some forms, in other forms he doesn't.
Do you see him?
Have, yes.
Robin. Uncle Pappy. They want you to know. Well, all except this guy right here, because he's a little more decorated now
H.P. Lovecraft.
than he used to be.
That is one of the authors that we have been reading recently.
When I brought this to light. But there's no mistaking that scar and that scar.
What are those?
You want to see the funny thing about all his medals, though? Can you see what that is? It kind of looks like an angel, right? Oh, and these kind of look like falling angels. They want you to know. They're prideful. They're prideful fallen angels. It's what got them kicked out of heaven in the first place, because they wanted to be worshipped like the Most High instead of worshiping him. They're prideful, and it hit me today.
Hi, Mom.
People always say, how are you allowed to succeed in your platforms? Well, because they like getting all the recognition that I unintentionally give them. Pappy can't come out and just tell you that he was Robin Williams and Teddy Roosevelt, just like Don L. can't tell you that he was Elvis. No, I think there's some sort of spiritual contract, and I think they're deceiving us, potentially to test us. Maybe it's their way back into heaven. Maybe they're testing us during his little short season here to try to get back in the good graces of our Heavenly Father. Or maybe they're just a bunch of big, whining, prideful babies that want to be worshipped like little kids. I don't know. But I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. And I'm trying to do it every day to help open all your eyes to the fact that we're in a spiritual realm, in a spiritual battle. What side are you on? course, all this for entertainment purposes. Doppelgangers, they're just doppelgangers. No, they're clones, people. They're clones. They didn't create clones to make you think that clones were what you were seeing here instead of the fallen. Entertainment only. Oh, and one more time. They want you to know.
King of rock and roll, Elvis. Elvis! We love Elvis. I shouldn't say this. You'll say I'm very conceited because I'm not. But other than the blonde hair, when I was growing up, they said I looked like Elvis. You see that? Did you believe it? I always considered that a great compliment. We love Elvis, don't we? They said I looked like Elvis. You see that? Did you believe it? I always considered that a great compliment. We love Elvis, don't we?
Truth Behind the Real Peter Pan, Part 2. Peter Pan was released in 1953 and it was a hit. This movie blew up and it made Disney a lot of money. Bobby is now 15 and he's starting to notice that the cast, directors, and producers are all whispering behind his back. Sure enough, one day, the fun, sweet Uncle Walt that used to take Bobby out for ice cream and to buy toys just began to change, and Walt didn't want to spend time with Bobby anymore. The man who had once held Bobby in his arms and called him his son no longer did that. Walt stopped inviting him over to family gatherings and birthday parties, but Bobby always thought to himself, hey, if I do age, Walt's not just going to kick me out. He's going to have some kind of work for me. I mean, he's like family to me. He knew him and Walt had a special bond, a relationship. The success of Peter Pan should have made Uncle Walt very happy with me, right? Wrong. Bobby didn't understand. He was being paid to be a child, and he was no longer a child, and Walt did not need him anymore. Walt's cash cow was drying up, and Walt was about to do something so disgusting and disrespectful, it's just evil. So weeks after the release of Peter Pan, Bobby drives up to the studio thinking, well, Uncle Walt's probably got a new movie for me, some teen romance drama or comedy. He pulls up to the parking lot where the security's standing by at the gate. Bobby shows the security guard his badge, and the security guard says, you're not on the list. Bobby says, what? I've been coming here every day for years. What do you mean I'm not on the list? We know each other. I know you by name. You know me by name. He said, check the list again. I work here. And the security guard checked the list and said, no, you're not on the list. You can't go in. This same security guard had watched Bobby grow up, and he was now treating Bobby like he didn't know him. Like, no, you're not on the list. You need to leave. Bobby said, it must be a mistake. Please call the office. So the guard calls the office, nods his head, puts the phone down and says, no, it's not a mistake. You're not allowed on the lot. The man he worshipped like a father, Walt Disney, had instructed a guard to simply block his entry. Walt Disney could not even be bothered to fire Bobby to his face. He told the guard to send him off the lot. There was no party, no handshake, no meeting with Uncle Walt, no goodbye or farewell, no thank you for making the best movies our companies had ever seen and making us the most money we'd ever made in our lifetime. Nothing. They fired Bobby Driscoll because he had pimples. Bobby had now been replaced by his own ghost, the animated version of Peter Pan. Bobby drove away from that set in a very dark place. He just couldn't understand why Uncle Walt, the family, the executives, the producers, the directors, the guard, why anyone would treat him like this, like they had practically raised him. And now his parents weren't too happy either because the life they had built off of his paychecks had drastically changed. There were no more paychecks. When I tell you the panic in this household was immediate, now it's back to mom and dad having to figure out how to be parents and how to stabilize the family financially. And you tell me what they did with all that money, because there were times they made over $800 a week. That was a lot of money back in them days. But Bobby didn't care about the money. He was more heartbroken over losing his on-set family. He had gotten accustomed to a certain routine every day for years, and then all of a sudden it's ripped away. He could have cared less about the money. You would think because he was the Disney Golden Boy that he would have had all these opportunities lined up, but he didn't. Back then, once a child star was associated with Disney, they couldn't find work anywhere else. No one wanted to work with them. They were considered damaged goods. Like, as long as they were working for Disney, everyone wanted them. But if Disney fired them, nobody would touch them. They would say, you're too famous to play the hero. You're too famous to play the extra. You're too famous to play the sad guy. We have no role for you, Bobby. And what sucked, he was a phenomenal actor. Of course, like all other child stars, when they can't go back to Hollywood, their parents immediately shove them into public school, somewhere they've barely been. And public school to a child star is like a Shark Tank. Nobody is wanting to be their friend. Nobody thinks they're cool. The kids were relentless. They bullied him every day. Oh, what are you going to do? Cry, you little fairy? Peter Pan followed him around everywhere he went. He was called so many horrific names. They saw him as a fallen celebrity, like, you're not cool anymore. You're in public school now. Unlike nowadays, Bobby Driscoll would have been a god in high school. Like, dude, you work for Disney. You are Peter Pan. You're freaking famous. Back then, it wasn't like that. Being fired by Disney affected every part of his life, including high school. And the worst part was because he spent his childhood on set, he wasn't around other children that much, so he had no social skills. His parents did not prepare him for the real world, so he had no idea how to talk to other children or teachers. He didn't know how to get a regular job or do basic things. Bobby was extremely anxious, stressed out. He didn't know how he was going to support his family, something that he shouldn't have even had to worry about. You're being told as a minor, we're losing everything because you're not working. Well, we had everything because you were working. Like, it's a big burden on their shoulders. Bobby felt like he didn't fit in anywhere, at school, at home, with friends. He couldn't even make friends.
And
so,
paid
like
him back.
other child stars, he turned to drugs and alcohol. And I mean, from a very young age, Bobby's addiction jumped very quickly from marijuana to alcohol to heroin. Now, from 1954 to 1957, Bobby did land a few small roles, like on Dragnet and a couple other shows, but they weren't like what he had before. And they damn sure didn't pay what he'd been paid before. In those roles, you can look at his face and tell it didn't make him happy. He didn't want to be there. It was just something to make money. It didn't help in 1955 when he was arrested for marijuana. All the tabloids read, Disney child star arrested. At the age of 19, Bobby decides he's going to straighten up and get his life together. And eventually, that's where he meets a 19-year-old woman named Marilyn. They get married, and then they have 3 children. And even though he loves Marilyn and she's an amazing wife to him, Bobby just cannot let go of his addiction or his past trauma. But eventually, Bobby goes downhill again. His addiction gets the best of him, and he's out getting in trouble. In 1958, Bobby did his last film. That was Party Crashers. He tried his best, and you can tell he did, but he just wasn't in a good place to be filming. He was known on set as unreliable, a junkie, a problem, so a lot of people didn't want to work with him. Bobby starts going down a really bad path where he's now turning to crime. He's writing fraudulent checks and getting arrested. By 1960, he and Marilyn are getting divorced. The guy who was once the Disney golden child is now a thug and a criminal. He is just a full-blown addict. He's doing whatever it takes to get that fix. By the age of 24, Bobby is in prison, and he looks like he is 40 years old. The man is aging so bad. While in prison, he was forced to kick his heroin habit, and that was when he decided he was going to change his life once he got out. This was the first time since he was 16 that he had actually been clean and sober. In 1962, he was released from prison. He reached out to his friends in Hollywood, but nobody would work with him. They all seen him as a problem.
Part 3 coming up. Stay tuned.
First truth.
All right. We got to go to break number 2. And once again, we have the lovely and talented Miss Mia Savage. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Take it, no matter how I
Welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we have been doing Trippy TikToks with me, TessaTNT. And I was going to look up like most recent UFO sightings, etc., but the next video coming up looked pretty interesting to me, so I wanted to check it out.
Truth is that you're not separate. The second truth is the one that keeps shaping your entire life without you realizing it. Fear is the greatest lie ever told. Love is the only thing that's real. Every ancient text, it doesn't matter the culture, it doesn't matter what language, repeats the same idea so many times it's almost suspicious. The most repeated phrase in the entire Bible is fear not, or do not be afraid. A quote from Jesus says, perfect love casts out fear. We hear the Buddha say, hatred does not cease by hatred. By love alone is hatred healed. In the Bhagavad Gita, we read, the path of devotion, love, leads to liberation. The path of ignorance, fear, leads to suffering. In the Tao Te Ching, we see courage comes from love. Paralysis comes from fear. In the Dhammapada, we read, the mind is everything, meaning that fear starts in the mind and not the world itself. In ancient Sufi wisdom, we specifically see from Rumi, your job is not to seek for love, but to find and remove the barriers you built against it. How beautiful is that? All these civilizations that never spoke a single word to each other somehow arrived at the same conclusion about reality. Fear is an illusion that keeps us asleep, and love is the frequency or the thing that wakes us up. Fear shrinks self, and love expands the self. Fear breeds ego, and love dissolves it. Fear isolates you, and love reminds you who the hell you actually are. Fear makes you chase approval, validation, and money and control. It makes us compare ourselves to everybody else. Fear makes us live like something is missing. Love, in the ancient sense, isn't romantic. What they mean is oneness. It's alignment. It's essentially the recognition that we're made of the same stuff, the same light or the same source, whatever you want to call it. That's why fear feels bad, because it's biologically incompatible with what you actually are. Every mistake you've ever made, every relationship that blew up, every regret you carry, every time you sabotage your own potential, it's all fear. Every spiritual leader across time was basically saying, you're suffering because you're believing a lie. The moment that you drop fear, you don't just all of a sudden find love. You're not finding love. You're returning to it. It's your default state. That's why we're born with it. It's the only real thing underneath all the noise is just that. But all the ancients didn't stop there. They all said the same thing next. Something that modern science is finally...
If you see water at the sixth gate, you have already lost. Your mind has succumbed to the simulation's final layer, and the gatekeepers of the chariot do not offer second chances. Let's talk about Merkaba. Alright, so between the 1st and 7th centuries, a school of Jewish mystics developed the most dangerous ascent tradition in the ancient world. They called it Merkaba mysticism, from the Hebrew word for chariot, derived from Ezekiel's vision of a divine throne chariot descending from the heavens, carried by 4 impossible creatures, surrounded by wheels within wheels that were covered in eyes. Most readers called it poetry. The Merkaba mystics called it a map. They believed a sufficiently prepared human consciousness could ascend through 7 palaces, also known as the Hechelot, the heavenly halls, and stand before the divine throne itself. Not metaphorically, but literally, while still inhabiting a living body at that. The literature they left behind reads less like scripture and more like classified briefing documents for an operation with a very high casualty rate. Oh yeah, and if you're interested in learning more about mysticism and other mystery traditions like Kabbalah, Hermeticism, and Rosicrucianism, make sure to click the link in my bio because the doors to the inner sanctum are opening for a limited time in less than a week, so if you're interested, click the link. Now that you're ready, let's talk preparation. So first, the mystic, called a Yored Merkaba, or a descender to the chariot, fasted up to 40 days, underwent ritual immersion, and memorized vast sequences of divine names that functioned as passwords at each gate. Those who lacked precise knowledge of the gatekeepers' names and seals did not simply fail. The texts are very explicit. They were destroyed by what they encountered. The divine fire that illuminates the palaces is the same fire that consumes the unprepared. So now I'm sure you're asking, what do these palaces look like? Let's talk about it. The first palace, Livnat Ha-Sapir, or the pavement of sapphire, has walls of white marble so pure that they emit light from within them. 14 gatekeepers armed with axes of consuming fire stand at its entrance. This palace tests only one thing: legitimacy. Do you have the right to be here at all? The second, Even Shataya, or the foundation stone, and it pulses like a living rock that amplifies whatever the mystic carries internally. Bring fear and the walls compress. Bring doubt and the geometry becomes labyrinth. The gatekeepers here have faces that mirror your own, showing you precisely what you're carrying that doesn't belong in the higher palaces. The third, Noga, or radiance, is where light becomes penetrating rather than illuminating, passing through consciousness like light through water, rendering every hidden corner of the mind simultaneously visible. The gatekeepers here are described as beings of overwhelming beauty. The primary danger of this palace is not fear, it's rapture. The mystic who stops to contemplate what they see never reaches the fourth. Speaking of the fourth, it's called Zevel, or the exalted habitation, and it marks the threshold between the upper and lower heavens. Walls rotate, ceilings reconfigure, the geometry does not hold still. The gatekeepers, called the Princes of Fire, test whether the soul can maintain coherent identity in an environment specifically designed to fragment it. The mystic who loses the thread of their own consciousness here does not descend. They simply cease to be coherent. The fifth, or Ma'on, where the divine dwelling overwhelms not through sight but through sound. The architecture is constructed from interlocking flames of 4 colors that vibrate at frequencies the ascending consciousness perceives as sound rather than light. The gatekeepers speak divine names continuously, not as passwords, but as the ongoing sonic architecture holding this palace in existence. The mystic who recognizes these frequencies responds in kind. The one who doesn't is obliterated by what they can't process. But the sixth palace is where things start to get crazy. The approach to the sixth palace presents what appears to be an endless expanse of shimmering water. The mystic who concludes they're seeing actual water has failed the final cognitive test of the ascent. The texts record the precise question the unprepared ask: water, water, what is this water? And in that moment of misidentification, the gatekeepers exercise their full authority. There is no water. What appears as water is pure marble of such translucent perfection that it refracts divine light into something the unprepared mind can only interpret through its most familiar framework for transparency and depth. It's the simulation's most convincing layer, the last and most sophisticated trap in the entire system. And by the way, the mystics who look at what appears to be water and declare this is stone, this is light, this is not what it appears, are the ones who pass. And if you thought the sixth palace was crazy, hold on to your hats. The seventh palace is where things fall apart. The texts begin to fracture here. Language that served for 6 palaces break down at the 7th. Aravot, or the throne room itself, contains what the tradition calls Shi'ur Koma, or the cosmic form of divine, described in dimensions so vast they exceed any spatial framework. The mystic is not standing before a being of comparable scale. They're standing before something so cosmically disproportionate that the only appropriate response is the one that Isaiah had: complete dissolution of self-importance, complete recognition of what you actually are relative to what you're standing before. The mystic who makes it here does not return unchanged. They descend carrying what the text called the secret of of the chariot, a knowledge so fundamental it can't be transmitted in language, only recognized by those who have made the same journey. And we actually have written records of 4 people who entered these palaces. The Talmud records the most famous cautionary tale in all of Merkabah literature. 4 great sages entered the heavenly ascent together. Ben Azai looked and died. Ben Zoma looked and lost his mind. Acher looked and became a heretic, concluding there were 2 divine powers rather than 1, and only Rabbi Akiva entered in peace and departed in peace. The tradition offers this not as discouragement, but as calibration. The difference between the one who returned whole and the 3 who didn't wasn't intelligence or piety. It was the depth of inner preparation. Whether the divine fire illuminates or consumes depends entirely on what you bring to the gate. So what does it mean for you? Well, the water at the 6th gate is not just ancient mystical lore. It's the last and most sophisticated trap in a system engineered to return the unprepared to the bottom. It looks exactly like what your mind expects ultimate reality to look like, and that is precisely the point. When you reach the layer that looks most convincingly like the truth, can you see through it? So if you want to learn more about Merkabah mysticism, the Hekala, and how to navigate the inner architecture of consciousness, make sure to like the video, drop your thoughts in the comments below, head over to the link in my bio for more information about our esoteric community and our deepest research, and follow for more deep dives like this. Till next time, guys.
This is why you should always ask God for help. In the early 1950s, in a remote mountain village in Epirus, Greece, the village president sat in an empty church with a scowl on his face. You see, Greece was still recovering from one of its most devastating wars, the Civil War, and because of that, the church was completely empty. Now, the people in this village were starving spiritually, and there wasn't anyone that could fulfill that spiritual need, and because of that war, they had lost their only priest, and they had been months without a priest now, and they had never heard back from the church about getting one replaced. So as the village president was sitting there, according to protocol, he writes yet another letter to the church authorities, and he requests a new priest to come and provide clergy. He sends the letter, and soon enough, there actually was a reply this time. But this reply broke the poor president's heart. We are sorry, but we cannot provide you with any priest at the moment, LOL. We will do our best to send one your way as soon as possible. Not knowing what to do, the president just goes to the church again, and as he opens the big doors to this cold and empty church, he just feels a tear leave his eyes. The poor president was breaking down. The village was falling apart. He didn't know what to do. He was barely holding it together himself, so he just does the only thing that he can think of, and he gets down on his knees and he prays. God, I am just a man. I do not know what I'm doing, but you said that your yoke is easy and that your burden is light. So if you help me, I promise you I will be your servant. We just need you to send us someone. And shortly after, the preacher hears something that he had not heard in ages. The church doors open and a man walks in. It was a frail, thin man with a snow-white beard. He had wrinkled skin and wearing this robe. So he says, I was told you needed a priest. I will help you, but you just can't tell anyone who I am. Now the president obviously thought this was a weird request, but he thanked him, and for the next 3 weeks, his mysterious preacher was incredible. He was the best preacher you could imagine. He baptized a lot of babies, he got the church back up and running, the church community was now united again, and the village was on fire for God. It was like he brought new life into this village. And after 3 weeks, the preacher leaves. In gratitude, the village sends a letter to the church authorities, thanking them for sending a priest so quickly, and what a good priest that was. Now, when they hear back from the church, it would leave the president questioning everything that he knew, because this was the reply. We did not send any priest. Please send any official clergy work signed by him, because he was not sent by us. This was very confusing, and the president does exactly what he asks. He sends all the documents that he signed, and he looks at the bottom to see the signature, to see what this man's name was, and it wasn't even a real name. It just said the Metropolitan of Pentopolis, not even a real city. But when the church saw this same name, they were stunned, because there was one man that held that title, but there was just one problem. This man had been dead for over 30 years, and it belonged to the man that most people know by the name of Saint Nectarios of Aegina. And if you like this story and you want to see more like them, then all I do is research the greatest miracles in history to bring them to you in story format. May the Holy Spirit be with you, and thank you for watching.
You know how I say they tell us the truth right in plain sight? Well, this is Camelback Mountain in Phoenix, Arizona. And boy, did I find a lot more than that. And for those of you that don't quite have unprogrammed eyes yet, I went ahead and did a side-by-side. But like I said, there's a whole lot more than that. I honestly think I stumbled upon a Nephilim's kill pile. Do you see this here with mouth and eye? Let me show you. Mouth and eye. Mouth and eye. And like I said, I think it's a pile. Here you can see a broken jaw, which appears to look like some sort of snake or maybe dragon creature even. Some sort of eel or snake. You see the eye and the mouth. I think it's probably something more like this though. Oh, but I said pile. And when you scroll down here, seems to be some sort of eye right there and mouth. Almost like a giant head that was lopped off. And well, if you can't see that one, I'm sure you're going to be able to see this. Do you see that nose and mouth? Do you see that? Eyes. There's a face there. It kind of looks like something out of Thundercats. I mean, do you see the lips and the mouth and the nose? Oh, but just when I thought I was done exploring, I found the best one of all.
Oh, wow.
And if you don't see this, well, then I
Looks
just
like
can't help you.
Tiger or
You see
lion.
the tongue and the mouth and the eyes? Kind of looks like a lion, even a lion's mane. Do you see it? Take a good look. And
Beautiful.
don't worry, I'll do a side-by-side in a second. Right there. Nose, tongue. Like I said, I think I stumbled upon a Nephilim's kill pile, a petrified kill pile. Do you see the tongue, the eyes? There's a giant petrified lion there, my friends. And this is literally one of the main pictures if you look up Camelback Mountain. Do you see
It's a
this?
face.
Do you see the
Yeah.
mouth and the nose and the
And
eyes?
the
There's
eyes,
a petrified
yeah.
face there.
Cheeks.
There's a petrified face in the mountains because everything before the flood used to be much, much bigger. And it's biblical. The Bible
That's why
references
they
giants
put down the
dozens
giant
of
trees.
times, and pre-flood Earth was a lot bigger. Google's even telling you things were characterized as massive presence of giants. There were giants, and what do you think they fed off of besides us little people? Giant lions and giant snakes and probably dragons and a whole lot of other crazy things your mind can't even comprehend. And I didn't even cover this face with mouth and eyes. That's still Camelback Mountain. But of course, this is all for entertainment purposes. Just like the Bible, it's all fiction and entertainment, even though it mentions giants in the earth in those days. Entertainment about there being a firmament above our heads. The Bible's entertainment about there being dragons. Oh, and fallen angels that were cast out to earth. That's just pareidolia, you silly billies. Entertainment only.
This is my third attempt on the third day to make this video, and I've had trouble doing it. The Epstein files, man. I've been trying to work on them, and I've been trying to, I don't know, come to terms with it so that I can discuss them on here. I want to help, and I do want to bring attention to it because I do feel like there's a lot of people that still don't get it. They still don't understand. Everybody not on TikTok, people that are just on Facebook and Instagram, they're seeing a little bit of the Epstein stuff, but they're not seeing what we're seeing. They are not being exposed to the really crazy, really dark things, the kind of things that makes people ready to drag these MFers out onto the streets. But I'm having a really hard time doing that. And I already knew a lot of this, okay? I'm like an OG conspiracy theorist. I knew about this a long time ago. But it's still somehow so much worse. I lose my words over it a little bit. It's kind of spiraled me into a really dark place. It's really effing with me pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't made any content in like a week. I haven't even made my next YouTube video, but I'm coming back, guys. I'm working on it. I'm just trying to pull myself back together because it has been, it's been kind of chaos and it kind of spiraled me out, and I've been battling some demons. Okay. But now I've reached a question, I think, that's bothering me even more. And I've heard other people say it, but why are they giving it to us now? Just dropping it in our laps, you know? I feel like for them to release it like that, just give us all of this. The things they were doing is so unbelievable, like literal crimes against humanity. It's infants newborn babies and toddlers, and what they're doing to them isn't just rape. It's torture. I'm not gonna cry on the internet. It's really fucking with me, guys. It really is. But what scares me about this is we're all just sitting here, and it's still happening. It's still happening right now. Epstein's Island was not the only island, and they had locations here on American soil. Like, it's still happening right now, and we're just sitting here, and the children are screaming. What I'm getting at is, it scares me that they're giving this to us, because it's almost like, what if it's already too late? You know what I mean? Like, what if they know it's already too late? Nobody's going to do anything. If that's the case, y'all, it's going to get so much worse. I'm terrified of where this is going, because what if they're laughing in our faces right now? Actually, that's how I feel. I feel like they are flaunting it in our face, and they're laughing in our face, and nothing's going to come of it. And then, because we know, they're not going to hide it anymore. What if they start forcibly taking our children? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, do you see where I'm going with this? If we all continue to sit complacent on this, there will be no coming back from it. And the world that comes after this one will be a literal nightmare for our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids, if they even get to grow up. Honestly, best case scenario, if we do nothing, another country might swoop in and do it for us. Because it turns out, shocker, surprise, we're the bad place. We're the bad guys. And at this point, if we're not going to do anything, I almost welcome that. Go ahead and wipe us out, okay? But I just wanted to get on here and tell y'all, I am attempting to make content. I'm kind of spiraling out. I'm sorry. I understand why a lot of people don't want to look, and I don't blame them for that. But if you're not in tears or in a rage, I need you to look for just a minute, just long enough to understand the reality of what we're looking at. You'll have to start caring. They need us to care. The kids need us to care. But I also wanted to tell y'all that I'm, fine enough. I'm not missing or anything, but just kind of having a morality crisis, because I can't handle it. But on the other hand, I can't sit complicit in it either. And I want to bear witness for the people who lived that, for everybody still living it. But it's eating me up inside, because nothing's happening. I feel like I'm not really going to feel better until we start dragging the motherfuckers out. This shit is it is so bad, y'all.
It is.
Like, it's not just crimes against humanity. It's a crime against God. And I'm not even a religious person. But I just want y'all to know, I'll be back after I quit having my little mental breakdown right now. But I'm going to need y'all to jump on the mental breakdown train with me, because I know a lot of people just don't want to look for their own mental health, but you can't avoid this. By avoiding it, you're allowing it.
Mm-hmm. You're complacent.
And we cannot allow this. You don't have to look long, and you don't have to look deep, but just look enough, please. Because I cover a lot of dark things. I cover a lot of crime. I cover a lot of tragedy. But what is in those files is something else. And I think everybody's going to have to see it for themselves to believe it, to understand. We can't vote our way out of this one, guys. It's all of them.
Howdy. Let's make some anti-inflammatory tea with what I had left in my apothecary. Okay. It don't just fight inflammation, it's good for immune support, a fever reducer, helping with colds and coughs. Having this is like getting two birds stoned at once.
Wow. Dark Side of Disney. What happened to...
I'll be your whisper in the wind.
That's pretty. I love rainbows.
I find it not a coincidence.
You know how they like to tell us?
Listen up. I find it not a coincidence at all that the U.S. decided to strike Iran today, because it is the 11th day out of the 9th month on their calendar, which makes it 9/11. Nor is it a coincidence that Trump started his State of the Union address at 9/11 p.m. and in front of the 119th Congress. Now, a pretty significant event is about to happen on March the 3rd. It is a blood moon, and like I said, for the past 3 years, there has been a blood moon on Purim, and this is the last one. and it will peak at 6:33 Eastern Time and 3:33 Pacific Standard Time. But that's not the wildest part. This article says, see the impossible as sunrise and a total lunar eclipse appear at the same time on March the 3rd. A rare atmospheric effect called selenelion, where people will be able to see a rising sun and a blood moon at the same time. The entire eclipse is going to be visible in the pink, but people on the East Coast are going to be able to see this. This is literally called an impossible eclipse, and it's happening March the 3rd. We all know Iran Supreme Leader Khamenei was executed today, and he was born on an annual solar eclipse. And we know the day Donald Trump was born, there was a blood moon. Benjamin Netanyahu, there was an annual solar eclipse when he was born. Now, is this a sign of what's coming next? I don't know. But we know that the Lord said that there would be signs in the sky. Also, the U.S. just so happened to strike on the Shabbat before Purim. And tonight is the 6th planet alignment that forms a planetary parade. There is literally so many signs in the sky right now. This blood moon coming up seems to be more significant than people want to believe, especially when this is turning out to be the impossible eclipse. If you do not have a relationship with Jesus Christ, you need to get one right now. The Bible says that if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe that he died, was buried, and rose again for the remission of your sins, you will be saved. Don't wait until it's too late.
You know how they like to tell us the truth right in plain sight? Well, that's Aaron Rodgers, and
most people forget that there are people in the United States that have been behind the curtain. I was in the military. I was active duty. I deployed to a combat zone. I know politicians, and I spent a lot of time researching beyond CNN and Fox and your traditional Wall Street Journal articles. And it's easy to put together what's going on. As a matter of fact, there's even an AI information war out there where I asked ChatGPT some questions of what's going on between Israel and Iran, and it literally lied to me where Grok was more honest. And not only that, I asked if Sam Altman was from Jewish descent, and ChatGPT wouldn't answer. It refused to answer that question. And in 2 seconds, Google will tell you that he is. And it's stuff like that that's going on around our country that people are not noticing because you're getting most of your information from the main media sources, which we all know from both sides are corrupted. Both sides are corrupted. That's a fact. And whenever the president went on and said that they attacked Iran for the United States to protect our citizens, that's not true. They attacked for Israel. As a matter of fact, whenever they positioned all their Navy assets and they sat there for a long time, you know, there was a bunch of destroyers and an aircraft carrier. They were waiting for Israel to make the first move. Actually, I brought that up to ChatGPT before the attack, and ChatGPT said, oh, there's no way, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. And then when the attack happened, I told ChatGPT I was right. And he got really upset at me, and he even threatened me when I started asking questions about Sam Altman. So there's a lot going on, and this attack was for Israel. This is so we could defend Israel, and so we could protect them, and so we could do their military work for them. And listen to this, guys. Why are we doing that? Look at your paycheck. Look at the prices of food. Look at how expensive it is. Look at how all of us are being suckered into paying so much more while we send tens of billions of dollars to Israel, and we send tens of billions of dollars to fund this war that has nothing to do with us. I'm telling you, right now, we have more issues in our country with infrastructure, education, teacher pay, everything. And here we are spending tens of billions of dollars on something that really is for somebody else, for Israel.
Yes.
And let me tell you, would Israel do this for us? Would they?
No. Nope. They would not.
Let me know if you've been to New York. People from Israel hang out with each other. They don't talk to other people. They have their own communities. They have their own setups. They do not go outside of the communities. I am not anti-Semitic. I actually don't care about it. I'm Mexican. Like, I don't care about where you're from or what you do. But what I do care is when we're getting hustled as a country. That's what I care about. It's all about the money. And right now, that's the main thing. I don't care about race, color, religion, whatever. It's about the money. When we're spending tens of billions of dollars for other people when our people need help. This is the stuff that you guys need to know. It's not being done for the American people. It's being doing for Israel. But why? Why are our people being held to this action? You wonder, is it because of the Epstein files? Is it because some state secret? Is it because of what? Like, there's no reason why we should be doing this. And I want to know what you guys think. Again, look at how bad our economy is and how much money people don't have. And tell me if you think you're okay with spending tens of billions of dollars for this random military action when it's not benefiting us at all. It's benefiting Israel.
What are you going to be doing on the third night of the third month at 3:33 in the morning? Well, I hope, much like the rest of us, you'll be viewing the total
That's a
eclipse.
good question.
Once upon a time, I was falling in love. Yeah, because there's not only an eclipse, my beautiful friends, but a blood moon eclipse. And not just any blood moon eclipse, the worm moon blood eclipse.
Wow.
3/3 at 3:33. Oh my. 33 is my all-time favorite number, and if you're a follower of mine, you know why. If you've even seen a handful of my videos, you might see me pause, smile, notice something, and then point out the thing that I'd noticed. Oh, no! No way that was right then. What was it? 33 seconds. Oh, Abba, I love you. Yes! Coming in hot with a 33 there. Why does that get me so excited? Because now for years, when I am onto something, if I'm giving a revelation, and anytime I begin to share, this is how my Father gives me confirmation. Every single time that I am on the right track, that I have hit the nail on the nose, the head on the... What? Head on the face, the nail on the head. That I am right on track. He will show me 3:33 or 33 every single time. I cannot believe that just happened right then. Ooh, nothing is impossible with my Father. Anywho, I digress. Where was I? Oh yeah, 33. That is the number that I receive when my Father gives me confirmation and says, good job. I cannot count. I cannot tell you how many times I'll be doing something and all of a sudden I'll get the little whisper, look at your phone. I open it up and boom, there it is, 3:33. And before you come at me with, oh, Auntie, no, that's bad. You know, the Freemasons, 33 degrees and all. That's kind of their number. No, it's not. No, it is not. Well, I mean, it is for a reason. Because the Freemasons, they know just as well as I do, and you're about to, that 33 has every single thing not only to do with our Messiah, of course, the Bible, but it is the most powerful number in this world. Spoiler alert, if you ever want to figure out what is true, what is actually really, really true in this world, is the hidden answer to it all. I've told you a million times, look in the hidden places, but also look at the people, well, let's just say the ones in power, the ones that seem to have everything, the enlightened ones, Illuminati, and even the Freemasons, the 33rd degree ones. Well, they must know something, although yes, they are not good men. Let's just say sometimes power and the truth, well, unfortunately, they fall into the wrong hands. They use 33 because they know it is hands down by far the most powerful number ever. It's our number, Not just between me and my Father. It is our Messiah's number, so it is ours. Whether they want to try to steal it or not, it is good. 3, when I was a little girl, you know how your friends always say, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite number? Why do we always have to know what our favorite number was? I actually remember the first time my best friend, when we were little, asked me that. I was like, I don't know. Ooh. I felt like I was put on the spot, We were supposed to have one of those. But instantly, it landed on my heart. 3. My favorite number is 3. And it remained that way, well, my whole life. And of course, my favorite now, 33. You got 3, you got 33, you got 333, and 3333. But let's run through the significant meaning behind these numbers. First 3. I mean, the obvious, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Birth, life, and death. Air, earth, and water. Mother, father, child. Oh, and also before I forget this, when you're awoken at 3 a.m. or 3:30, 3:33, like so many of us were led to believe, because in this world, what is good is bad and bad is good. For most of my life, I was scared because I was always taught that was demonic. In fact, I used to teach my followers that, but this is not true. The book of Enoch clearly explains too. The witching hour is at midnight. Well, the book of Enoch doesn't tell you that part, but it is true. 3 a.m. is actually when the veil is open, the thinnest. And that is when your Father is most often trying to speak with you. So if you're being woken up at 3:33, or 3:30, it's a good thing. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Just remember that Yeshua himself would get up long before the sun would, and he would be in prayer, and he would talk to his Father. He would meditate on his word. So if your Father's nudging you at that time in the morning, it might be a good time to just get up for a bit and chat. Yeshua HaMashiach ministered for 3 years. He was crucified on April 3rd, taking his last breath at 3 p.m. on April 3rd, 33 AD. He was on the cross. The sun darkened for 3 hours. They put him on the cross in the 3rd hour. Just remember that they used to count time differently, so that doesn't mean 3 a.m. or 3 p.m. They hung him in the 3rd hour. In the 6th hour, the sun went dark. And in the 9th hour, he took his last breath. A total of 6 hours on the cross, half of which was in total daylight. And with the sun being darkened with a total eclipse for 3 hours, the other 3 hours were in the dark. After committing his spirit to his Father, Yeshua HaMashiach went to hell to preach the good news of the gospel that they did not know, and he rose on the 3rd day. He was 33 years old when he took his last breath. And don't even get me started on the Bible verses. Some of my favorites. Jeremiah 33:3. Call unto me, and I will answer thee. I will show thee great and mighty things, which thou knowest not. No, then you know this one's pretty important to me, between me and my Father. And there's old Ezekiel 33:3. When he seeth the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet and warn the people. Another one pretty important to me. But the next one I'm about to share with you is one of my, most important ones. It has been for a while now between me and my Father. Ezekiel 33:33. And when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come. Then they shall know that a prophet hath been among them. Oh, and on that note, I don't think that I know. No, I have not shared some of the most beautiful parts of my new art piece, my vision art. It's actually one of my favorites because it is all in the wood. I can't take any of the credit, never could. All grace and glory be to Yah and the Holy Spirit is in the scroll, which is actually our Father's shoe. And in the shoelaces, down the scroll, there are letters. JEREMIAHEZEKIEL. It's what's at the bottom that I love the most. The numbers. 1-5 and 33:33. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I placed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you took your first breath, I set you apart to be a prophet unto many nations. And Ezekiel 33:33. When it comes to pass, and lo, it will. Then they shall know a prophet was among them. But it was only months after I had drawn this did my Father show me something I had not noticed. With all of the different Jeremiahs, and I'm going to show you, and the different Ezekiels coming down the scroll, I mistook it for only 2 verses. And actually, it was 4. Jeremiah 1:5, Ezekiel 33:33, and Jeremiah 33:3, and Ezekiel 33:3. Whew. Wasn't, let's just say, expecting company, and I wasn't thinking about sharing this quite yet. Why not?
That's pretty
My
cool.
new piece. But I'm running out of time, so let's focus on the scroll. Here is the foot, the papers, and the scroll goes up like so. I was blown away. You can see these laces are literally in the door. I can erase it a million times and they'll still be there. But you can see Jere, it spells Jeremiah and Ezekiel all the way down. It's hard to explain, but the 5 and the 3 are all in one. 1-5 and then 3:33:33. Here's the top of the scroll and the top of the boot, but all the way down spells out Jeremiah and Ezekiel, and the numbers come down to 33 and 1-5. It is mind-blowing how this is all in the door and it comes together. It even says Judgment Day and Breathe the Light. There's also something very incredible hidden, and as somebody who sees patterns, well, I've noticed a pattern. A man's theory who died quite a while ago, yet many of his theories and his sciences still live on today. Who is this man and what was his theory? Nikola Tesla. And his theory was the 369. Let's just say people don't pass away, well, mysteriously and suddenly. People like him who delve into things like people like that, unless they are onto something big. Let's just run through the 3, the 33, and the 3:33. 3 plus 3 equals 6. 3 plus 3 plus 3, it equals 9. And might I remind you, young Yeshua on the cross in the 3rd hour, the sun darkened at the 6th. He took his last breath on the cross at Calvary on the 9th hour. Oh my,
369.
What are you going to be doing this March 3rd at 3:33? The 3rd day of the 3rd month at 3:33 a.m. I hope you don't miss it. The worm moon, blood moon, lunar total eclipse, which will peak at 3:33 a.m.
Is the
Pacific Standard
end
Time.
of our time together this evening for We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Thank you so much once again for hanging out with me tonight, and hopefully we can do it again soon. A lot of traveling going on this next week, but I'm going to try and have something ready and available for you. Thank you to all of my friends out there, wherever you may be listening Beyond the Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time. I can't wait to do it again next weekend. Maybe sooner. You never know. Don't forget, we are all in this together. Together can make the world better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. Stay safe. Stay calm. Be there for each other. Take care of my ewes. And I'll see you back here. Same crazy time. Same crazy place. Nighty night, love and light. Take care of my ewes.